Welcome in, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It's Tuesday, the 24th of June. You're with Steve Wyss and James Eastham. How is everyone doing? Loads of comments already in the chat, even before the show started, James. And one of them was congratulating you on an exceptional performance on Friday's show. There was hardly a loser from you, James.
Yes.
You must be... Well, you've certainly coined it in over the last few days. Let's just say that.
Yes, just seeing the comment there, Ming Chung. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Yeah, it was a great show, wasn't it? We did well with the picks. I think I got 5 out of 5 and then was let down by Yusuf Belaili for Esperance Tunis. But then, yeah, a couple of leans over the weekend as well. Juventus came in for me, one of the teams I'm quite hot on in this tournament and remain so. So, yeah, really good show last time, and we are looking for the same again here. Plenty of winning picks.
I mean, the mad thing about Belaili, the shots should have come in. He was one-on-one.
I know.
And somehow, I had no idea how at least a shot didn't contrive from that. It was an incredible bad beat. But there was, thankfully, loads and loads of winners elsewhere. So, yeah, thanks for that, Ming. He's got a question about Bayern. Benfica. Will be covering that game soon. Don't you worry. Wondering if Bayern will be happy with a draw. So there's plenty of debate already going in chat about whether Bayern are happy with a draw or not. Are they going to go for the win? Villa fan, good to see you. He was delighted to see that equaliser for Palmeiras yesterday. Will White, of course, had a strong day yesterday on the show. I mean, the winners have been coming left, right, and centre. Will White backed the tie. He had a great half-time, full-time winner with Atletico Madrid, and also took the handicap on the African outfit, Al Ahly. So this is the place to go for winners, isn't it? Because Betting Weekly Live at the moment. But good day, Ray Burke as well. No BS. Can Auckland City score a goal? That's the big question, one of the big questions of the day. But Rick Haley, good to see you. Brelo Charles as well. Noah, ZT, Real Brendan King, Steve from Lynn as well. Thanks for your comment on the show, Steve, yesterday. And anyone new, welcome in. Do feel free to hit that like button and the subscribe button as well. We're getting very close to 10,000 subscribers on the channel, so we'd greatly appreciate that anytime soon. There was a big bet yesterday on the sportsbook on the soccer, James. It was $32,000, and it was actually a push. PSG -2 on the Asian handicap at -179. That better did well to avoid going above the 2 line. PSG now going to face Inter Miami, group winners. Luis Enrique moaning about the pitch and the ball in Seattle. It doesn't seem like they're quite... Maybe that Botafogo defeat rattled them a little bit, but Inter Miami, that's as favourable a draw as they surely can get at this stage.
Yeah, I think so. I thought his comments were quite interesting, weren't they, about the pitches not being great. It's the first time we've heard him say anything negative in months because things have been going so well for PSG. I thought even more interesting was the number of PSG players who came out after the game to say they were tired. And in some cases said very tired and very, very tired. It was 3 or 4 of them. It was unprompted. So I think we can take it as read that the team are tired. A lot of those players are on to 61, 62, 63 matches for the season now. You've got the likes of Hakimi, William, Pacho. They've played almost every game in 2025. Give or take the odd game here. So that's the biggest sticking point I can see for PSG, just to talk briefly about that match coming up against Inter Miami, because it's one of the few last 16 ties that we already know about. It's a concern, and I would fully expect PSG to go through, but I noticed that they're around -2 Asian handicap at evens for that game against Inter Miami as well. I'd be a little bit reluctant to get involved in supporting PSG on the Asian handicap because of that fatigue. We think the temperature is going to be around 30 when that game kicks off against Inter Miami at the weekend as well, I think, in Atlanta. So just a few concerns about whether they've got the energy to push on and win big, as we know they can in terms of pure quality. It might be that we see a few narrower, closer wins from PSG for me if they're to progress through this tournament towards the semi-final and the final.
Yeah, I mean, I want them to win outright. I've got a sizable bet on them to reach the semi-finals. And for the first time, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. I'm not concerned about the next match. Inter Miami, for me, are not very good at all. Fair play to them for making it this far. But beyond that, I mean, yesterday, watching the Atletico Madrid game against Botafogo, for me, Atletico was a better team. You could tell that.
Yeah.
But Botafogo, by far pressure, in the middle of their season, much sharper. And I think that is a big factor now we have to consider.
Yes, I would agree, Steve. I think just generally on the tournament, I think there's been a bit of premature celebration, if you like. Celebration might be the wrong word, but about the Brazilian sides. They've done really well, but let's remember it's just the group stage. And there's been quite a lot on social media about the gap between Europe and South America and Brazil in particular, maybe not being as big as we thought. I disagree with coming to those conclusions yet. I think it's far too early, but I do agree fully with the point you've made. I think there's better momentum for the Brazilian teams as regards this tournament coming at the right time for them. They've obviously got great support in the stands, haven't they? Which is a big factor as well. It's a massive occasion for the traveling fans from Brazil. And we know we're going to have at least one Brazilian team in the quarterfinals because two of them are slated to play each other in the last 16. That's Palmeiras and Botafogo. So, yeah, it's going to be close, I think. I still think the European teams are going to improve on what we've seen so far. But without question, fatigue for some of those teams from Europe is a really big factor at this tournament.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Gambler's Gambit, good to see you. COD Gaming, I know he's a big fan of yours, James. He has said it's been quite hard to make money on this tournament, but you do not miss too often. And Buelo Charles Gadio, that nibble on the half-time, full-time from Will. It was a very, very good shout indeed. And there was plenty of winners across the board. Nearly $20,000 on the Sounders against PSG, under 3.5 goals, plus 102. Nice winner. Yeah. I've got to say the Sounders, I thought, defended quite well yesterday. Credit to them. Nearly $8,000 on Porto Al Ahly over 14.5 corners live at plus 180. $5,000 on Atletico Madrid against Botafogo under 1.5. The winners were piling in yesterday. That's for sure. There's a house special today, and it is in the Bayern Munich game against Benfica. Harry Kane to score or assist the first goal in the game at plus 108. Not sure I particularly like that. I'm not even sure that Harry Kane will necessarily start the match. And this is where we're going to start today. Group C reaches its conclusion. Benfica against Bayern Munich. And this match is being played in Charlotte. It's going to be very, very hot. You're knocking on the door of 100 Fahrenheit here, 37, 38 degrees Celsius. Bayern are through. They're qualified. Not guaranteed to be group winner, though, unless they avoid defeat. Benfica just need a draw, and they're in. The tie is at plus 240. Yesterday, the tie was plus 155 in the Inter Miami game. Obviously, it suited both on that occasion. It kind of suits both again, James.
Yeah.
So is that plus 240 on the tie? I think it was a question earlier. Is that a potential bet in this game, do you think?
Yes, I would say so. I don't have a pick or a lean on the money line, but if I was going to go for an outcome, I would go for the tie. I think 240 is pretty big, really, given that it would suit both sides. Benfica need to win to top the group. I suppose one question is, would they go for the win? Well, I'm not sure they would, because if you go for the win too strongly here against Bayern Munich, you do leave yourself open against a Bayern Munich team who I think are better going forward than defensively. So it's a bit of a risk. From the Bayern perspective, there's a lot of talk about how will they play? Will they take the game? Not take it seriously. We know they will, but will they go all out to win it when they don't need to? I think the answer to that is no, they won't. But in terms of tactics, I'm not sure this Bayern Munich side is particularly set up to do anything other than be quite offensive and quite positive. I think it's the way they will play. The one thing I'm most sure about with Bayern here is I think they will rotate a little bit. I think all the things we've said, Steve, and you've alluded to the temperature there, I think it would be crazy for them not to rest 2 or 3, maybe even more of their players. They've got a pretty deep squad. They can afford to do it, given they don't need a win here. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest factor for me is team news. Let's see how strong or weak Bayern are, and maybe that will open the door for Benfica to get something. But it's a strange one. These final group games in any tournament where there's big doubts on one side or the other side, or maybe doubts of some kind on both sides, I generally leave them alone on the money line, because you cannot rely on teams playing the way you would expect them to play or the way they can play. And this is one of those games for me. So I don't have a strong view on the money line, but I do tend to agree that the price on the tie there does look pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of heat that it's been a long, long time since I've been in any sort of temperatures like that. When I was out there playing cricket on Saturday, about 80 to 85, and I was struggling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know these are professional athletes, but when a lot of the press conference has been dominated by the talk of heat and stuff, then I think we can certainly expect a lot of rotation. In terms of player props, I was actually looking at Thomas Muller here. Possibly, there's a lot of rumours that he might start the game, but he is only minus 143 for a shot on target, which I thought was a bit measly. I agree with a lot of what he said in chat here. I think a really good bet for this game is under 3 Asian goals, minus 120. In fact, you could even look at laddering the unders. Not often I would ever say that, but under 1.5 is plus 130. No goal scorer is 11-1 with Bet Rivers. Wouldn't shock me if this is 0-0. I just think, I mean, a draw suits them both anyway.
Yeah,
it's going to be really difficult for the players to play with any sort of intensity whatsoever.
Yes, it will, and I think the two managers will both be looking at it really closely. Maybe especially Bayern, given they're in the driving seat in the group. I think there will be changes. I agree. I mean, listen, Team News can throw up great opportunities in terms of the props bets, can't it? And the player bets. And that's the case with a couple of our picks today, I think, in the games. You may need to wait, for the Team News before you have your player bets. But I think there could be some opportunities if Bayern rotate. Like I say, I think they're fairly strong anyway. So players who come into the starting lineup from the squad may be dangerous. I quite like Renato Sanchez in the props market. He's very short to have over 0.5 shots on goal. That's just shots on goal, not shots on target, just attempts. He's minus 157, but I quite like the look of that because Sanchez has looked fairly dangerous to me. He managed a shot for Benfica in their draw with Boca Juniors. He actually had 4 shots on goal against Auckland City, and he came off the bench. 2 of which were on target, 1 of which was a goal. So Renato Sanchez for me is my pick in the player markets here. Like I say, over 0.5 attempts on goal, shots on goal, minus 157 would be my play. If you think he's going to have a shot on target, he's actually a really big odds. I think he's plus 245. I was tempted by that, but I do have slight reservations sometimes about Renato Sanchez. So yeah, maybe people want to wait for the Team News before they're absolutely sure about who they want to go for. But I'd be inclined to look more at the props markets, the player markets here, than I would the money line.
Yeah, you're right. Sanchez has been in sort of in shooting friendly mood.
Yeah,
for sure. Players can get like that. They can get in phases, and that's for sure. So that would be definitely a player prop that I would agree with. But you're right. Certainly in terms of buying, wait until the lineup comes out if you want to play it safe. Although if your player doesn't start, it will be void with Bet Rivers, of course. There's a lot of most of the money is on Bayern Munich, 98% on the money line. I'll be very careful there. I know there might be tempting at plus money here to win, but do be careful. They don't need to win the game. I'm always a little bit wary of teams that don't need to win the game. The biggest bet on the game is nearly $4,000 and under 2.5 goals at plus 108. And I can certainly see where that better is coming from. Just 61% of the money's on the over, which is not a lot for this tournament, where a lot of people just do blindly bet on the over. Pedro Machado says under 10 corners. Could that also happen here if it's a more slower paced game, James, do you think?
Yeah, quite possibly. I've not looked in great detail at the corner counts across all teams in this competition. I was having a look at Inter Miami earlier ahead of the PSG game. They'd had a couple where they were quite low. Really big corner count for them in one of their matches. But I think the pace is a factor in that. I think if the stats are pointed in that favour anyway on teams in this tournament, then in games where there's maybe a little bit less at stake and the temperature's high, yeah, I'd always be looking to go unders. But as I say, in terms of these two sides at this tournament, corners is not something that I've looked at yet, so I wouldn't personally be getting involved in that.
Gambler's Gambit, absolutely right there. I would much rather bet on Bayern to win on the futures than this particular game. They are plus 500. They're the third favourites to win the Club World Cup. I was saying yesterday to Will White, I'm starting to get a good feeling about them in this tournament. However,
yes.
Just Noah's comment there, the next game for Bayern would, if they win the group, would highly likely be Chelsea. So I don't know if they're actually near the Inter Miami section, but that's looking like the next game, which is not a gimme, but no. I think Bayern do have a lot of squad quality and depth and maybe less pressure in this sort of tournament as well. Okay, let's move on to the next game at the same time. This is being played at this is a match from Nashville. Again, it's going to be really, really hot here. 2 p.m. local time kickoff. Auckland City against Boca. There's no odds offered on the money line, as per usual with the Auckland City game. It's all about the handicaps. It's all about the goals, corners, and things like that. And this time, the goal line is set around 5.5, and the handicap for Auckland City, for Boca Juniors, around 5.25. Yeah. So that's the age-old question here. Of course, if it's a draw in the other game, they're out. Or if Benfica win the other game, they're out. But if Bayern do beat Benfica, then we're looking at a situation where Boca Juniors would need to win by, I think, 6 goals to get their qualification. Possibly less. I just say Benfica took a big battering. I don't think it's going to happen, but possibly less. So again, I mean, you were quite bullish on Benfica against Auckland last time. It just covered.
Yeah.
Do you think Boca are going to cover this handicap or not?
I'm less convinced about that, Steve. I'm not a big fan of Boca at the line. We should say, first of all, do I think they're going to win? Absolutely, I think they're going to win. Auckland City, we know, are incredibly weak, by far the weakest team in this group and the tournament, you would say. So Boca are going to go for it. They're going to win big. I think whatever the state of play during the match in that other game, they will go for it and be 100% committed. Number one, because they're going to have a huge number of fans there watching them and hoping they can go through. And number two, I don't think Bayern Munich are ever going to be in a position where the game is completely over and they've lost it. I can't see Benfica going 2 or 3 goals up. So I think there'll be a chance of Benfica losing it most of the way, if not all of the way through that other game. So I think we know what we're going to get from Boca. They're going to go for it and hope they can overturn this goal difference. Like you say, we don't know exactly how many goals they would need to win by in the event of Benfica losing in the other game in order to go through, because it would come down to goal difference. And obviously goal difference will be occurring in both games. But my concern is just that I have not been particularly impressed by Boca Juniors' shot creation at this tournament. They've managed to get 3 goals, but they've barely, I think they've only had 4 shots on target. So it's a remarkably clinical and efficient goals return. But I have a few concerns about how many they can actually score in one match. I think if you look at the Bayern Munich game, they had 3 shots on target in that match, which they lost 2-1. And the Benfica game, Boca drew it 2-2. They only actually had 1 shot on target of their own in that game because one of the goals was an own goal. So I do have my concerns about them. The XG for Boca in both of those games was under 1. How many goals are there in this Boca Juniors team? I'm not sure. Now, the other factor is this is obviously a much weaker side that they're facing than they faced in those first 2 games. Bayern Munich and Benfica, obviously a much tougher challenge. So we could see them run away and win it big. We could see them win 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. But the way I looked at it, Steve, was that the Asian handicap line here for Boca Juniors is set at pretty much the same place as it was for Benfica when they played against Auckland City. And for my money, there's a little bit more attacking quality in the Benfica side than there is in the Boca Juniors side. I think that's shown up in the XG that we've seen in the games in this group so far, and also the individual quality that Benfica have got in the final third as well. So I just wasn't prepared to back Boca Juniors to do what Benfica did, which was win by 6 goals. So I'm going to leave it alone. The handicap for me is something I wouldn't touch. I certainly wouldn't be siding with Auckland City. I'm not backing them to keep it to say 2-0 or 3-0 or even 4-0. I wouldn't do that. But I just have less faith in Boca Juniors breaking that handicap line the way that Benfica did, and obviously the way that Bayern Munich did when they won really big 10-0.
Real Brandon King says he's tempted by both teams to score. Yes, and absolutely. If they score a goal, they will celebrate like they've won the Super Bowl. That's what they're here for. They want a moment like that. So let's see what they can do. I think for the first time, it feels like a handicap is right on the mark for an Auckland City game. I felt the first 2 were nowhere near. And Benfica, if they had anything about them, really should have won again 8 or 9. But I think this one looks about right, especially if, you know, the other result and the score coming through will matter a little bit, especially in the second half. If it looks like Boca have got a genuine chance of qualifying, they will go for this and they will need to rack up the score. But I'm not interested in first half handicaps. I'm not interested in the main handicap. Corners do interest me because I think this is the sort of game, I'm with you. I don't trust their finishing. I think they could become a bit frantic for them actually here. You mentioned the shooting. I think they could shoot a few from range, get a few deflections across the keeper, maybe make a few comfortable saves behind for corners. So over 11.5 corners at plus 102 does interest me here. Auckland have had a corner in each game, by the way. And they have, it wouldn't shock me if they got a couple of moments on the break in this game. I think they might leave some players forward to try and give themselves something. And I think Boca will get a lot of set pieces and corners in this fixture, in which case we've got to be looking at player props, haven't we? Aerial lads. And we've got the same bet here, actually, James.
Have we really?
Yeah, exactly the same player prop. I'll let you take it away. It's a shot on target bet, and we really like this lad.
Yeah, we do. So the player prop is Sebastian Battaglia of Boca Juniors to have over 0.5 shots on target. I think it's a great price, plus 128. I was really surprised to see plus money for Battaglia. So he's not a player I know really well. I've been aware of him for the last 18 months or so. I picked him out, Steve, for two reasons. The first is he's already got a goal in this tournament, scored in the 2-2 draw against Benfica, had 2 shots on goal in that game, one of which was on target, the goal. And although he's a deep line midfielder, really, I don't think that's going to make any difference whatsoever here, because like you say, Boca Juniors are going to go for it. They have to try and win big to have any chance of going through. I think the shots will be coming in from all sorts of angles, especially because they don't really, for me, have the sort of goal scorers in the final third that you can hang your hat on getting 2 or 3 goals on their own. So Battaglia, for me, given he's already scored in the tournament, he's going to be very confident. He can get another goal against much weaker opposition here. I would be massively surprised if at some point in the game he didn't get the opportunity to get forward here and have another go on goal, probably 2 or 3 times, in my view, given that he managed 2 shots against Benfica. So a little bit like some of the player props we've had in previous games against Auckland City. I think it was Otamendi last time for Benfica. Very similar here. You've got a player who, for me, has got a great chance of having an attempt on goal, who's already shown he's in form in terms of hitting the target, and he's available at plus money. So that's my thinking behind Battaglia. I think over 0.5 shots on target at plus 128 is, for me, the best pick on this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rodrigo Battaglia, over 0.5 shots on target at plus 108. I think you just look at this Boca lineup as well, and anyone tall. This is a clear weakness for Auckland City. They can't defend in the air that well. Matlock makes an interesting point, and I was thinking this is a slight concern for me for Auckland. Will their legs go earlier in this one because it's the third match of the tournament in a fairly short space of time? These are amateur players. They're not used to it. That does kind of worry me. Auckland keeper saves. I know people are going to be looking at that. ZT makes a very good point. In terms of the cards, the referee, I think it's Glenn Nyberg is the ref here. Swedish ref. He's not a very good referee. Sorry, Glenn, if you're watching, but I think he's very inconsistent. The referees have actually not served me well in this tournament, especially the ones outside Europe. They're a bit random, and they make different decisions to what I'm used to. But Glenn Nyberg is someone I rarely would get involved in because he's capable of anything. He could go no cards, or he could dish quite a few. I don't know. So make your own mind up on the cards. I'm not going to influence anyone on the cards today. Anyway, in terms of the money, 65% of the money on the over-under market is on the under. Are they listening to what Will White said yesterday? Will White said get on under 6 Asian goals. Yeah, that was his bet for this game. Gosh, would you go over or under if you had to?
If I had to, I would go under, Steve, because I think Auckland City will fail to score again. And like I say, I've got my concerns about Boca going in the other direction and whether they can break the handicap line. So yeah, if I was picking, I would go under. I don't have a pick on that or the match odds market, but I can totally see where Will White's coming from there, because I think of the 3 sides in this group who are facing Auckland, I think Boca Juniors are the one with the fewest factors in their favour, shall we say, to win really, really big.
The biggest bet on the game, and it's a huge bet in terms for a player prop, $5,000 on Luis Advincula over 0.5 shots on target. This particular bettor got it at plus 155. That has now come into minus 215.
Wow.
So just to point it out, probably not a backable price now, but there is a significant wager on Advincula for the shot on target there. Welcoming everyone is new to the channel. For those who are not aware, the Betting Weekly Insider is a great one of the 2 newsletters that we have each week. You can sign up free, and I can reveal this week we've got a special edition for Wimbledon, the third Grand Slam tennis tournament of the year coming out. This is going to be released on Friday. We're going to have exclusive picks from all of our tennis team, an in-depth guide to the competition. And this insider has been brilliant ever since it started. We've got league previews coming up for European elite leagues for the next season. The La Liga preview is already out, thanks to Rory Barlow. Paul Hughes, the editor, done a great job on that. So do sign up to that if you're not already. And also, just talking of tennis, we've got a special show on Friday. And now this is an early one stateside, but 5 a.m. Eastern. The early bird does catch the worm. This is a live draw reaction for Wimbledon when it comes out. Brilliant. So, yeah, you're not going to miss anything. Obviously, the draw, the bracket, as we know with soccer, any competition, James, really, really important to get an edge early, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just want to add to what you're saying, Steve. I am a casual tennis follower. I quite enjoy watching it when it's on the TV. I don't watch it anywhere near as closely as I do to football. The guys who are covering tennis for us are absolutely brilliant in terms of, even if you're a casual follower of the Grand Slams, there's so much information out there that they're providing. Obviously we've had some winning tips recently and some really big odds from some of the guys. So fully endorse what you're saying and massively recommend that anybody with a passing interest in the tennis get involved in that.
Yeah, and follow on Instagram as well. Sean Calvert's been out there in Mallorca this week. Sean was on brilliant form of late, grabbing those massive outrights, several match winners, like you said. But the insider's worth a go. Oya Hernandez says, was it Advincula's buddy who's betting on that one? Let's see how he gets on in the game. Dave Clark, 1 shot for Battaglia is now minus 335. Would you take him to have 2 shots or more at plus 125? I would, because I think they're going to get loads of set pieces and corners.
Yes, I would. Yeah, he's obviously a threat in those situations, isn't he? And like I've said it before, but if you look through that side, I just think that's what they're going to do. That's how they're going to approach it. I think anybody that's been dangerous, whether it's been in the air or whether it's getting to the edge of the box, that type of situation is going to be having a go. It's a team where the goals, to me, do look as though they'd be spread around if they were to win this 6 or 7-0, the sort of scoreline that they need. So yeah, I absolutely would look at that because I often talk about shots on target, but always do look at the associated market, which is just shots on goal, because obviously if the shots on target price is, in my view, too big, then it generally follows that just the shots on goal prices will be too big as well. So you may have your own preference there, but yes, I think Battaglia, for various reasons, set pieces, and also I think the amount of possession they're going to have and how positive they're going to be from midfield, I think he's one of the guys that should be a threat today.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Gambler's Gambit, the next UFC video, I think might be either tomorrow or Thursday. Big shout out to Paul Hughes and a new man, Kyle Andrew, who has been brilliant on that new show on the UFC. Meninda, I do play cricket. I sometimes bet on it, mostly the T20 competitions. I'm sure you're probably referring to the live test match on right now, England against India. Test matches, I just don't really... They're for over 5 days. You've got to have quite a bit of patience to actually bet on them. Neil challenged you, man, to follow on that. I think he has a few systems with Test cricket. And Duncan is off to Wimbledon next week. Done well to get some tickets there. Duncan, not the easiest place to get a ticket for, that's for sure. Okay, we'll move on to Group D then, which reaches its conclusion. Flamengo are already qualified. LAFC are already out. We're going to come to that game later. But Chelsea against Esperance Tunis. Chelsea minus 400 to win the game. Just a draw will be enough for Chelsea to qualify for the next round. Esperance Tunis have to win. They're 11-1. For that to happen. The ties plus 480. This match has been played 9 p.m. Eastern time. And the venue for this game is in Philadelphia. Again, pretty hot there, even in the evening, actually. Chelsea, not impressive, really, against Flamengo. Terrible second half from them. It would be a big surprise if they got knocked out of the tournament, though, here, surely.
Yeah, it would be a big surprise. I think that it would have been a bit of a wake-up call for everybody that they played pretty poorly, I think, by their standards in that defeat against Flamengo, that they knew after 2 games they couldn't finish top of this group. It's not where they want to be, but I think that will work in their favour, and we'll see a much better performance here. I'm quite strong on Chelsea here, Steve, for those reasons, because I think they're going to be more focused and they're going to produce a better performance. I quite like the fact it looks like Delap will be starting in attack. He looked pretty sharp to me in the tournament. Nicholas Jackson is suspended after getting sent off, so I think great opportunity for Delap to show what he can do again. And the other factor is that Belaïli's suspended for Espérance Tunis after a highly avoidable second booking in their last game when he got yellow carded for simulation. He is by far their most dangerous player, their best player. Scored the winner against LAFC. He's the reason, really, they're in this position where they're still in with a shout of going through, and he can't play. And I think I looked through the team and I've watched them. I don't see a plan B for Esperance Tunis in terms of opening up another defence. Certainly a good defence as well in Chelsea. I know they didn't look it the other day, but I think they're a level above what Esperance Tunis normally face, even though they are a good side overall. So I think this is set up for Chelsea to show a little bit more than we've seen so far. I don't think there's any doubt about their focus. It's a little bit like the PSG situation against Seattle Sounders, in that they know they've got to do better and they're not there yet. So I think things are in Chelsea's favour here in terms of their focus, their attitude, their motivation. And I think the Belaïli absence for Esperance Tunis is a really big factor as well. So they're very short, -400 to win the game. But I like them on the Asian handicap here. They're -1.5 at -120. That would be my pick on the match, because I do think there's a lot more quality in their side anyway than they've shown so far. And yeah, Belaïli for Esperance Tunis, he is one of those standout players in the team that turns them from a very solid and well organized but fairly functional team to one where there's a threat, and that threat's been there in both of their games so far with him in the side. We saw it in the first game where he was very dangerous. He was maybe doing a little bit too much on his own, but he was a threat, and then he's turned up and done it for them in the second game. So I think they'll get the job done. I should just say as well on Esperance Tunis, they did lose to Flamengo 2-0, and you can argue Flamengo are a better side than Chelsea. Based on what we've seen so far, that would be a fair enough opinion. But I think Chelsea and Flamengo are the strongest two sides in this group, and I think the fact that Flamengo have beaten an Esperance Tunis side which had Belaïli in, I don't think there's any excuse really for Chelsea not winning this without with the opposition having their star man missing. So it's Chelsea for me. I've seen the comments here. I'm not sure everybody agrees with this one, so we'll have to wait and see. But Chelsea -1.5 on the Asian handicap is my pick on this match.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea have been a team that have served you very well this whole season, really, James. Conference League in particular. I've got to be honest, I'm a bit doubtful of them here. The bet I like is Effie's bet as well, under 3 Asian goals at -137. I also like under corners in this game, actually. Chelsea just don't get that many corners. They cut inside so often. I've mentioned this before. And Esperance Tunis games have had a really low number of corners as well. But now look at Tunis, and I'm with you. I don't really know how they score a goal here. Yeah, Belaïli's the one, isn't he? Who he had something about him, either scoring or creating. So I just don't see how they get on the score sheet. But they can defend. They're a very defensive team. Tunisian sides, national, domestic, whatever, always just seem to play one way. Park the bus, defend, try and get a goal on the counter or set piece. So for me, that under 3 Asian goals is good. Chelsea could win this 2-3-0. You're not going to lose. You win with 2-0 and you lose, push with 3-0. Chelsea just had, and Delap, I'm with you. Delap is, for me, a lot better than Jackson. We'll have this debate all day long on this channel.
We will. But I tend to agree, Steve. The other factor as well, excuse me, as well is, when you're a new player, and you come into a team for pre-season, you're keen to impress, aren't you? But what an opportunity, not just for him, but for other new signings, right? It's a similar thing with Ryan Shirky at Manchester City. You're coming into a competitive tournament. I know there's critics of the tournament, but this is a competitive tournament. So I think for Delap, if you're looking at the game here, you're thinking, what an opportunity to cement my place in the team for the rest of the tournament. And if you do that, then you're in a great position for the season, aren't you? So I think he could be a real danger man here.
Yeah, Dunlap, it's a great chance for him to make a big claim. He's going to be starting now for the next 2-3 games, and I think he gets to start in the first Premier League game, whatever. So Tristan Wiggle over 1.5 shots on target for Dunlap. I wouldn't mind that bet because he's going to be keen. He's going to be keen to show what he's made of here. Chelsea, the money's on them, 98% of the money on the money line. Just 56% of the money is on the over, though, for Chelsea in this fixture, which suggests, again, bettors liking that under situation. I'm guessing, James, you're thinking 2-0, 3-0 here, really, for a correct score, aren't you?
I think so. 2-0, probably more likely than 3-0. I agree with what you were saying, Steve, about the unders. And a lot of that is down to the Esperance Tunis attack. I'm the same as you. I struggle to see where the goal or goals would come from here. So in that sense, I think unders would be the smart play. Yeah, I think 2-0 Chelsea would be my correct score pick on this one.
Yeah, I just tried to find the correct score odds, and it came up at 66-1.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
And then I realised I'm doing the wrong way round. That's 2-0 win for Esperance Tunis.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's 66-1, plus 500 for 2-0 Chelsea, for those interested in that scoreline. The final group game in Group D does not matter. Flamengo have won the group. LAFC are bottom of the group. So we've got a dead rubber situation. Flamengo, they are going to rotate. The manager said that. They're minus 121 for their reserves to beat LAFC. And I think this is an interesting game. I've got a gut feeling this might be open. There might be goals in it. And based on what I saw from Seattle Sounders yesterday, who were in a similar position to LAFC, maybe LAFC can perhaps bring a surprise here. But I don't know enough about Flamengo's reserves or weakened players to know whether this minus 121 is fair or not. But in my experience, when a team is already through, they tend to be quite professional and just, it doesn't matter. You can lose the game 10-0, it doesn't matter here. So I would not want to be getting with Flamengo based on that. But I'm not an expert with the Brazilian mentality. So how do you see it?
No, but I agree with you, Steve. I think a minus money price on a side that's already qualified has absolutely no appeal at all. I say that as someone who really likes this Flamengo side. They were my anti-post pick before the tournament started across all the outright markets. They were available at 2-1 to make the quarterfinals. I think they're the best of the teams from Brazil. And although there have been great performances from Botafogo and Palmeiras are through and Fluminense may go through, I do think they've shown that so far. So I'm a big fan of them. But yeah, I agree, Steve. Listen, they don't need anything here. And the second factor, as you say, is they are going to rotate. There's mixed opinions in the Brazilian media I've seen about how much they will rotate. Some of the credible sources over there have said it will be a mixed side. So they wouldn't drop all 11 first choice starters. They'll keep some of them in the side. But they're clearly going to rotate and it will be a weakened side. That can, of course, throw up opportunities in the player markets, as we've said already on the show today. And I think one area which is quite interesting is when I look at how Flamengo set up in this tournament, I think they've got 3 of their 4 attacking positions nailed down. Those players being De Arrascaeta, the sort of the playmaker in the side, who I think is an excellent footballer, Gerson, who was one of the players we made money on with my picks the other day with a shot on target, and then Pedro as centre forward. But I think one of the 4 attacking places in the sort of the 4-2-3-1 they appear to be playing is up for grabs. Luis Araujo seems to be the most likely. So I think if he plays today, he'll have a point to prove. But the fact that it's slightly open means that anybody that comes into the side today in the attacking positions, I think, will be up for it because they've got a chance. If they were to score 1 or 2 goals here, maybe you've pushed yourself into the starting 11 for the last 16. So maybe individual reasons to be motivated, and that would make me look more towards the player markets. But generally speaking, minus 121 on Flamengo to win in a game when they're already through, and we know, they've got nothing really to play for, doesn't really appeal at all. On LAFC, you wonder if the fact that the tournament is in the United States means there will be maybe a little bit more pride at stake for them than if it was somewhere else. They've not really impressed at all, have they, so far? They've struggled. Will they want to do better here? You think they probably will. Then it's a question of, are they capable of doing it? How much can they raise their game compared to what we've seen so far, especially because there's really nothing to play for. So it's a very tough one. I don't have a pick on the game. I don't have a lean on the game. I think it's one of those which is really difficult to call. Some of these final group games, there's a lot at stake, and it makes it almost a bit easier to take a view. This is the other end of the scale. It's very difficult to know how these two sides are going to play. But the only angle I think is worth looking at is, some of those players at the top of the market there in the goal scoring market for Flamengo, Pedro de Arrascaeta. If they don't play, and I think they maybe won't start the game, have a look at one or two of the other players who get drafted in attack, because I do think the attacking players for Flamengo will be wanting to impress today.
Yeah, a name that keeps appearing on most predicted lineups is Bruno Henrique. Yes. -137 for a shot on target, projected to start up front or in one of the front three spots. Yeah. If he's a hungry guy wanting to impress, he should be able to at least manage a shot on target against LAFC, surely.
You would think so. And a good player, Steve. I think the drop-off is there in some of those positions. If you look, I think at centre-back, I quite like the centre-backs at Flamengo, and they kept a clean sheet against Esperance Tunis and just conceded the 1 goal against Chelsea. I think there's certain positions where they are weakened, but Bruno Henrique is a good example. I think he's a good player, and there's a couple of other attackers who I think against this standard of opposition, which is against the weakest side in the group, maybe not to score, but some of the shot on target market might be worth a look.
Kitiniar says the subs may want to impress with Flamengo. I mean, that's very, very true. I think if it was a European team, especially an English team in this position, I don't really think they would care too much at all. I think that would be the attitude. If it was Chelsea, for example, it'd be full-scale rotation. Some of the players might want to make a mark. Some wouldn't bother. But it's a different mentality in different parts of the world, and I've got to respect that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe some would know better than me in that respect. Yeah. A player for LAFC who always catches the eye is, for me, Dennis Bouanga. I actually know someone who's backed him to be the top goal scorer for LAFC in this tournament. He's missed a penalty. He missed 2 massive chances against Chelsea. So you have to wonder it's maybe not his tournament. I looked at his shots on target and shots line, and the lines are too high, James. 1.5 for shots on target, 3.5 for shots. That is very frustrating, because this guy, if there were lower lines, I think I definitely have a nibble on him.
He's a good player, isn't he?
Frustrating player, though.
Frustrating player as well, that's true. But he's one of those who, I can understand people looking at him in the top scorer for his team in the tournament, because he is really the quality finisher. I know Olivier Giroud's there, but Bouanga's a younger and dangerous player. So you get these players, don't you, where it just turns out not to be their tournament. But maybe that'll be a factor for a Bouanga today. If he plays, they'll want to improve on what they've done and at least show something at a tournament. The top players tend to have that mentality, don't they? Regardless of what the situation for their team is. So you might still see 1 or 2 angles on the game that appeal, but generally speaking, the match odds, it's a very, very difficult game to predict.
I'm going to take that Bruno Henrique shot on target, -137. I think that's, for me, the options in the game, the best looking option. I've got a feeling it'll be open. Got a feeling LAFC might get something, but I'm not going to trust them. And equally, I don't think you can really trust Flamengo, considering the position. 76% of the money on the money line is on Flamengo. 92% of the money on the over-under market's on the over. So bettors do liking the goals in this game. It could happen. I've seen it happen with dead rubber games. Equally, I've seen these fizzle out into 0-0s when no one wants to get injuries and stuff like that. We might get a low card game as well for that very reason. Okay, we're going to move on to a couple of games tomorrow. James, you gave us a brilliant analysis of the quarterfinal, France under-21s. Jawi Cisse converting more than several shots on target in the game. Yeah. And now we've got a really mouth-watering tie. Germany against France. Proper pick'em game this. The books can't seem to decide between the two. Whoever wins this probably would be the favourite to win the entire tournament. So Germany under-21 against France under-21. This is tomorrow. Take it away with your analysis and best bets for the game.
Well, first thing to say is I do agree with the prices on the match odds line there. Very little to pick between the sides. I think that is a fair assessment of the quality of these two squads and how they've done in the tournament so far. Germany just about overcame Italy 3-2 in the quarterfinals. They needed extra time to do it, but that was a very big win. And they won 3 out of 3 in the group stage, including a 2-1 win over England. So Germany have shown that they do have a case to be the strongest side in the tournament so far. France have also been very good. They drew their opening game 0-0 against Portugal, and then they won their second 2 group matches before the 3-2 win in the quarterfinal against Denmark, coming from behind and winning it thanks to 2 very late goals. So that's my first point. I think it is very close. Wouldn't be surprised if it was decided by a single goal here or went to extra time. Second thing to say is over 2.5 goals is minus money, minus 143 there on the graphic. Again, I think that makes perfect sense. The games have been high scoring for both of these sides. Germany have scored 9 in their 3 group games, and then they've scored 2 in normal time against Italy. They've conceded in 3 of their 4 games as well. So loads and loads of goals in Germany's games, and exactly the same in the French game. So French games so far. So over 2.5 goals in normal time at minus money might be too short for some people, but I'd be tempted by that. And maybe if you're looking for a bigger price, you could consider over 2.75 goals, where you're going to get closer to evens, because the trends on both sides is that they've looked better to me going forward than they have defensively. There's some pretty good individual defensive talent in both of these sides, but as units, I think they've struggled. If you look at the France-Denmark quarter-final that France won 3-2, both of the goals France conceded were self-inflicted, really. There was a loose pass at the back that gave Denmark a shot, and then they failed to defend a long throw-in. So clearly weaknesses there, and I think both teams are probably going to have to rely on their attacks if they want to go through here. So also means it should be a fantastic game to watch. I don't have a pick on the match odds market or the goals market, but I do have a pick in the props market. I've got a couple actually, and they're both on France. You will not be surprised to know. The first one being over 4.5 shots on target for France under 21s, which is available at minus 110. So that's over 4.5 shots on target. That's team shots on target for France under 21s at minus 110. As I've said, they're better going forward than they are defensively, and they've been pretty accurate as well. They've actually managed 10 shots on target in each of their last 3 games in the competition, which is a phenomenal stat, really. That's against Georgia, against Poland, and then in the quarterfinal against Denmark. So they are really testing the opposition, not just with attacking, but then showing real quality when they get into the final third. Now, I think Germany will be a much tougher team to break down than those last 3 teams that France have faced. I didn't think Georgia or Poland defended particularly well. Denmark did okay, actually. They were more opened up, I felt, by the quality that France showed. But Germany will be tougher. But I think France have been managing so many shots on target in their games. They're going to be supremely confident heading into this match that they can cause Germany real problems. I think they will play on the front foot because they know that's their best chance of winning the game. So I think over 4.5 team shots on target for France under 21s at minus 110. You're going to get a really good run for your money there. And then moving on to the player shots on target, I think there are so many options here for France. The reason being, Steve, when you watch this under 21 side, the chances and the shots and the attempts on goals, they're coming in from all sorts of angles. So Mathys Tel was very good in the last game. You mentioned Jarry Cisse, who was my pick, who got into the box and scored from close range against Denmark. Quentin Merlan, the Marseille left back, scored with a fantastic shot in that semi-final win against Denmark. One player I really like, who's not listed with Bet Rivers, but you might find him somewhere, is Mathis Ablin, the Nantes attacker. He came off the bench in the semi-final and was really dangerous. If he were to start, I'd maybe want to look at him in the to score or assist market, because he can do both equally well. So there's loads of options for France, because I think they've got lots and lots of players who fancy their chances of testing the opposition. In the end, the player I've gone for on this game in the over 0.5 shots on target market is Lucien Agume, midfielder. He's available at plus 380 to have over 0.5 shots on target, which I think is a really big price. And why is he so big? I think there's 2 things, really. I think Jarry Cisse has been a player that people have been expecting to have shots on target. He obviously did for us in the last game. He's still available at plus 180, which is a really appealing price. I wouldn't talk anybody out of backing Joey Cisse to have over 0.5 shots on target here at those odds. I just feel he might be a little bit more of a marked man now by Germany. I think that I've seen what he's done. He got 2 goals in the group stage and then he scored in that quarterfinal. So I just wonder if Germany might have a plan here to stop Joey Cisse. Lucien Agume has managed a shot on target in 2 of the 3 games he's played so far, and yet he's available here at plus 380. I think it's a really good price. I think people maybe think of Agume as purely a defensive midfielder, plays for Sevilla in Spain. I don't think he is. I think maybe that's where he's played, but there's a little bit more to him than that. So I think he can get forward and have shots on goal. We saw him do it against Denmark. We saw him do it against Georgia in the group stage. I think 300 plus 380 on Agume to have over 0.5 shots on target is a really good price. So like I say, there's loads of players in France's likely starting lineup who have got a reason to be backed. Contan Merlin, I've mentioned, Jerry Cisse, Ablin, Mathis Tells look really sharp. But for me, the player to go for on this game would be Lucien Agume at plus 380. And as I say, my other props pick on the game is France in the team shots on target market over 4.5 at minus 110.
It's a great breakdown, that, James. It sounds like this could be a real shootout. Agume, I had to check his age, actually. I couldn't believe he was still in this squad. I remember when he came through at Sochaux over there in eastern France with Le Lionceur.
Yes.
And he's always been a player. I mean, Sochaux have a great academy anyway. But he was always earmarked for great stuff. I wonder if he's priced up because he's only ever scored 1 career goal.
I think so, yeah, because he's obviously not a goal scorer. And I think a lot of people who have seen him play will think, well, doesn't he just hold his position really in midfield? And I think he does, and I think that's what he is. But there is a bit more to his game than that. And I think what he's shown for France is even if he's not scoring the goals, he's willing to have an attempt on goal. And this France team are clearly being encouraged by their manager to have attempts on goal. So I think it should really at some point open up for the midfielders. Cisse's obviously been the more prolific of the two, certainly in terms of scoring goals here. But I think at double the price, Agume, who you're absolutely right, Steve, it feels like he's been around forever, doesn't it? Can't believe he's only 23. I think the price is really good. But yeah, like I say, this France team, if they play as they played so far, I think we should be seeing chances fall into players in all sorts of positions on this pitch, and players who maybe on paper have got quite defensive starting positions looking to get into scoring positions.
Yeah, Nish says they're over 3 Asian goals at plus 110. The manager, of course, Gérald Baticle. Now, just done some stats on him. He once, former manager of Angers, averaged 2.77 goals per match in the 54 games managed there. And so far, as France under-21 manager, his fixtures average more than 3 goals per game.
Yeah.
So, this is a manager brought up, I think, in the Lyon surroundings, probably wanting to play attacking soccer.
Yeah.
So overs could be very possible. It sounds like it could be a shootout. The other semi-final, just quick thoughts on it. I think Dan Roebuck has an outright on Netherlands under-21 in this tournament. I think he does. Yeah. Could he potentially get his side through to the final here? England, you think, though, deserving favourites?
Yeah, I think so. I've watched less of these two sides in the tournament. I was impressed by what I saw from England in the quarterfinal against Spain, and I do like some of the individuals they've got in their team. I don't know as much as Dan or other people out there about the Netherlands, so I'm not quite sure really, but I focus more on the France team and the France game because that's what I know more about. But I think England have got really good momentum on the back of that win over Spain. There was lots of positive feedback from the media who were at that game about the freedom with which England played and the way they went about that. So to me, the price is maybe England is a little bit short at plus 116, but I think plus money on both sides is probably about right. And I think England do deserve to be favourites in that game.
Just a quick one before we go. We've got Gold Cup action as well today. The final group games conclude. I can tell you just a couple of interesting stats from the traders here. In the Honduras against Curacao game, 90% of the money on the over-under market is on the under. So that is serious money for the under there. Honduras, Curacao. And the biggest bet of the day is in Guadeloupe against Guatemala. and it's nearly $2,000 on Guatemala double chance. It's at minus 311, but that is the biggest bet. Guadeloupe, we were chatting about them off air, James, and I mean, they did me dirty in the first group game and mad 25 minutes. But it's like you said to me that there's some players in that Guadeloupe team who are really not that bad, right?
Really not that bad. And, there's a lot of players in that team who've played in the French First Division who currently play in the French Second Division. You'd think there's a fairly good understanding between some of those players. I know some of them have been playing for this national team for some time. So I've not been following this tournament. We had a comment when I was on the show the other day about did I have a view on it? I don't have a view on it because I've not followed it closely enough. But I always keep an eye on Guadeloupe after the tournament to see how individual players have done. And I've been really disappointed to see, you mentioned, Steve, the heavy defeat that they had, how poorly they've done. And then they lost 2-1 to Jamaica. So I'd be hoping for better from them here. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes because they've clearly not performed so far.
Yeah, we certainly will have to wait and see how it goes. Thank you, everyone who joined in today, live or on demand. If you are new to the channel, then do consider hitting that subscribe button for YouTube. We're really close to 10,000. We'd love to get to that mark. And also hit the like button. I did some research into likes. I know Neil Channing does this, right? The show we did on Friday, James, I think nearly 1,400 views. Thank you to everyone who watched it.
Yes.
Just 48 likes.
Wow.
How does that work? I mean, I'm not being surely we can get at least 10% of people who watch to actually hit the like button. It's like if I'm watching just a normal sort of YouTube video and I think, it's all right, I'll just click the like button. It's one of the easiest things to do, isn't it?
Yeah. More likes. That's what we want. More likes.
We need more likes.
We do.
Definitely. Yeah. And remember to also sign up to the Betting Weekly Insider. I mentioned it midway through the show. And you can watch out for the Wimbledon special, which will be released on Friday. Picks from all the handicappers, and of course, the action doesn't stop here on because we win today. Betting Weekly Tennis live in an hour's time with Rory Giuwani and Tim Dennis. Grass court season tennis, in-play bets, all sorts of stuff like that. Daily double, Betting Weekly hardball, and Betting Weekly fast break with Doug Kazarian later in the day, covering the baseball and basketball. So. Thank you very much, James. I agree with Nish. It was a brilliant breakdown on that France game. Thank you so much for your time, as always, and good luck with all those picks. Yeah, we'll see you again very soon on the channel, and we'll see all of you again very, very soon. Join me tomorrow. Will White's back on the show. Remember to gamble responsibly, and the best of luck whatever you are taking today in the world of sports. See you next time on Betting Weekly Live.